Hello. Took me a while to set up. I guess that good. I can't decide. Anyway, welcome to a July wrap-up. I read 31 books in July, and that's a lot. So we're going to try to go through these pretty quickly because most of them I have read in vlogs, and the other ones maybe I'll go through with a little bit more detail, but it is hot. I am hot. I am using my microphone, so hopefully it's working. It says it is. And we're just going to go through these books. Like I said, I read 31 in July. That included Summerween, which I daily vlog for, and that was fabulous. I had a great time. And also Sunrise on the Readathon. So I read 31 books for that. And so that's great. I'm going to, if you see me looking down, it's because I have my iPad and I'm going to be looking at my StoryGraph because for this month's wrap up, I have done zero preparation other than getting my books together and getting myself together, trying to anyway, and hooking up the camera. Let's go to my monthly wrap up, which I haven't even looked at yet very closely. I read 31 books. I read 9,839 pages. Most of what I read were dark books. Shocking. Dark, mysterious, tense, emotional. And then apparently I read 6 or 7 that were funny. Most of what I read was horror. Once again, shocking. Apparently I read 14 horror books out of the 31, so almost half. And my average rating was a 3.77, which ain't too bad. I did a really bad job logging my pages daily though, so I have no idea like what days I read most, because a lot of time I was logging like the next day or whatever. So they're not very specific, but that's okay. So let's go in to the books that I read. My lowest rated book of the month with a 2.25 is Tilt by Emma Petit. This is about a pregnant woman who is going to last minute buy a crib for her daughter, and she is still pregnant. She's very, very pregnant. She's the kind of pregnant that people will look at you and say, whoa, don't make any sudden movements. So she's out buying this crib, and then this massive earthquake happens in LA. I think it's LA. And it's like the big one happens. And she is stranded without a phone, without her husband, without means of transportation. And she just begins walking around and making poor decisions in her shock and trying to get to her husband, trying to get home, trying to figure out what's going on. And, it's a horrible natural disaster. So there's people walking around, there's people looting, there's people trying to help, all sorts. She's running out of water. It was fine. I gave it a 2.5. I wouldn't, a 2.25. I wouldn't say I liked it, but I could see how some people would like it. I think it was just her making some really bad decisions. And that kind of bugged me. And even though it was super short, it wasn't really holding my attention all that much. And all I wanted to know was, is her husband dead? Are they going to be able to get reunited? What's going on? And I will say, not a whole lot of answers to be found. So it was an ambiguous ending in a way that I didn't like, which sometimes I can love an ambiguous ending. So I ended up giving this a 2.25. My 2.5, which was Kitten by Stacey Yu. This will be in a Ready, Set, Net vlog at some point, but it was the first one I read for the vlog, so it's going to be a bit before that one comes up. And this one is about a recent graduate who is really late on her rent or her utility bill for the apartment that she lives with her friend, and her friend is not very happy about that. She has a boyfriend. She's sort of floundering throughout her life, and she has an estranged relationship with her mother, which she had formerly had a very enmeshed relationship with. Her mother was very upset that she grew up and very upset that she left and went to college. And so they have that kind of icky relationship, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to have, if they're going to have a relationship as she grows older, makes up her own mind about things. So she goes off to this beach cabin with her boyfriend, and they bring along this cat that is his parents' cat that he's pet sitting for, and she becomes enamored with this cat, loves this cat, wants to be this cat almost, would love to just laze around all day, have everything done for her, be adored, and not have to think or make any decisions, because she's at that point in her life where the world's wide open. She has to figure out what she wants to do. And so she doesn't want to do that. So she'd rather be like this cat, but she loves this cat. And this cat swims in the ocean. Don't question it. It's a fact of the story. The author told us so it's true. Likes to swim in the ocean. Anyway, reason this got a 2.5. Loved the writing. Thought it was interesting. Made it all the way through, no problem. Well, I wouldn't say no problem, but something happens. This woman makes so many poor decisions. And I mean, it's coming from a place of ignorance about pets and cats and things, and also just lack of care, lack of carefulness. She makes poor decisions about this cat's health, let's say. And it goes in a direction that I did not want from this book. It's a cute little cover. I knew it might be a little weird, but I did not like where it went. So if you want spoilers for that, I can tell you down below. I'm not going to do that here. Anyway, that was my 2.5, my only 2.5. So really, I had a great reading month. Now, my only other book that I gave below a 3 was Cherry Baby by Rainbow Rowell, which I did return to the library already. And I really loved Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. And so I was just like, okay, we'll pick up another romance-ish book by Rainbow Rowell. And this follows Cherry. I think they call her, I don't remember her full name. I don't have the book in front of me. She is a plus size woman. And a lot of this book kind of delves into her thoughts about that, how the world treats her, how she feels inadequate with the men she's with, even if they seem to want to be with her and love her for who she is. And she has been estranged from her husband, separated. I think they're just separated. He supposedly cheated on her. We don't really know in the beginning. And he went off to make a movie about this comic book that he invented called Cherry Baby. And the main character is inspired by his wife, the main character of this book. And so she's trying to grapple with the separation. They kind of make their way back to each other, but I wish we got more flashbacks of their relationship. Previously, I would have liked to have seen more of them falling in love and been more convinced of it, because something about it just really didn't work for me. And I mean, it wasn't awful, 2.75. Like, I still enjoyed my time, but it just wasn't one that I would recommend or buy for my collection. So I have 2 3 stars this month, just flat 3s, Peach Pit and Nyctophobia. Both of these are read in a vlog. So we're just going to go through them quickly. Peach Pit is a short story collection. It says 16 stories of unsavory women. And I would say, yes, the stories are unsavory. The women are unsavory in here. I liked them, but I didn't love them. Most of the stories got a 3, 3.5. Some got a 2, some got a 4. I enjoyed my time reading it, but I will say that it just kind of is mid-range for me. But I think I might keep it on my shelf still. I really did like the cover, and there are several authors in here that I really enjoyed from previously, and I'd be curious to read their full-length novels if I haven't already. Kaming Chang's in here, and of course that one's gross. Yaya Schofield wrote On Sundays We Pick Flowers, which I really loved, and there's just some great authors in here. So I'd be curious to read some of their full-length novels. Weird stories, weird girl stories. There is one about a girl who summons a female, the devil, but it's a girl with her clitoris. There is one about a girl who can set things on fire with her mind, like fire starter. There's one about an F-boy museum. It's about a girl who is sick of online dating and having men not living up to any sort of standard, and so she starts to kill them. There's one called A Scholarship Opportunity, which I gave a 4, and it's about getting a scholarship for being the worst. So I thought that one was fun. So yeah, I thought these were fun, but overall, my overall rating was a 3 if I average them all together. And so I gave it a 3, but I think I'm going to keep it on my shelf because I like to look at it. And I actually think there are a few stories in there I wouldn't mind reading again. I think at a different time, a different place, I could love it even more. So, and A Word Girl short story collection is just right up my alley still. And I read it for Allie's book club. So Allie do is read. I read it because of her. I also read Nyctophobia. It is about a couple who leave the city and buy this estate house, which has really weird architecture. And the front of the house is like glass. And there is absolutely no shadow in the house practically, because you just get sunlight from all directions almost, except for in the back of the house. And the back of the house is all in shadow, but it's closed off. And so they say that's where like the servant quarters could have been. It's built at the side of the hill. So you just don't go back there. They just store things back there. But of course, our main character starts hearing things, seeing things, and we slowly learn what's going on back there. And I really thought the concept was great, but I think the execution left a little to be desired to me. But at the same time, I had a good time with it. I was comparing this to The Companions, which was like those big wooden pictures of people that people used to buy in their houses, I don't know, to make them seem more crowded in parties. And I thought that one was super creepy too, but the ending sort of lost me a little bit. And I would say the same thing with this. I liked where the ending went, but some of the execution didn't work for me. But I would still recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. I'm definitely glad I read it. It was interesting and different. My only 3.25 of the month is Patricia Wants to Cuddle. This, I think, is a case of mismarketing or mishearing about this from other YouTubers or whatever. I thought this was going to be a bloody time, but also like silly, goofy. And it is, but I thought that the Patricia, the Sasquatch Bigfoot in this, the female Bigfoot, was going to play like a bigger overall role. Like I thought there was going to be Patricia's killing people, but also like she just wants a lover. And it really wasn't that. It was mostly about this reality show, this dating reality show. And the contestants in the Pacific Northwest are in this out of their area because it's cheaper to film in. And they are slowly killed off by this Sasquatch. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't as big of a win as I thought it would be, but it was a fun time. My 3.5s, I have quite a few. The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roble. And this one is about a disenfranchised young man who was different and didn't really get along with a lot of people, but he made some of these friends in college. He decides to open up this hotel and have it themed after Hitchcock's movies. He's a really big Hitchcock fan. And he invites this group of friends from college to this house with some sort of grand plan. And we don't know what that is. And there are some bodies that drop. And there's a creepy housekeeper that helps him out. And yeah, I like this one. I thought it was a good time. 3.5, fun thriller. Not sure I will keep this one on my shelves either, but it has a crow in it. So maybe, I don't know. I think as I run out of room, there'll be certain ones that go. And if I keep this one, that would be one of them. But I think I might just unhaul it because I don't think I would read it again. And I also read this for Summerween, Crypt of the Moon Spider. This is about a world in 1923, but so like women are oppressed like they were in 1923, and mental health is kind of seen the same as it was in 1923. But in this world, you can go to the moon and get moon spider treatment in your brain. This one is pretty gruesome. It's about a husband who brings his wife there and then really doesn't want anything to do with her because she's not able to fulfill her wifely duties, so to speak, because of her depression. And he brings her to the moon and wants her to get this really expensive treatment. I thought this was fun. It was a fun, weird time. There's a sequel. I'm curious. I want to read that one. And I gave this a 3.5. Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shanna McGuire. I did not talk previously about this one on a vlog, I don't think. I just listened to this one on audio. I have this and I think 2 or 3 more of the series still to read that I own. Yeah, I have 2 more. I have up to Mislaid Parts Half Known. In this series, it's a Portal Fantasies, and it is about a bunch of children who, at certain parts in their life, they disappeared through a door that appeared, and they went into different worlds. And most of the children were very happy in those worlds. They could have been dangerous and challenging, but they were understood there. They were their perfect world, but then they got like spat back out, and they end up living in this school for kids that disappeared into these worlds. And maybe their doors will reappear. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll go back. They're all hoping that eventually they could go back, and they have these adventures. And some of the books follow kids that go into these worlds for the first time, and some of them follow what happens after. This one follows Cora, and she was in a world of water, but in a previous book something happened and she has some sinister beings kind of chasing after her in her dreams, and she wants it to stop. So she goes to the other school that is not the school she's currently at. There's another school that tries to make you normal and make it so you forget the world you're in and you can go back to your normal life. So she decides to go there because she doesn't want to be hunted down by these sinister creatures. And she finds out what that school is all about. I gave this a 3.5, I think. I think that's what I said. And I liked, or 3.75, 3.5. I really enjoy these books most of the time to varying degrees. And I liked seeing that other school because it has been mentioned before, but we didn't really know anything about it. So that was fun that we got to know that flip side of these stories. I read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. And this is T. Kingfisher, and it is about a girl a magicker. And in this world, magickers are kind of looked down upon a lot. She can only do small magics involving bread. and she has a sentient gingerbread, not sentient, but an animated sort of sentient gingerbread that rides on her shoulder. She has a familiar that is a sourdough starter named Bob, and she ends up coming downstairs at the bakery and finding a dead body. She's accused of maybe having something to do with it, but then she's acquitted, and then magicers around the village and city start disappearing and dying and being killed. And it's her having to rise up, find her courage, figure out how she can be helpful, even though her magic is only good with baking baked goods. And yeah, finding herself, figuring out what she wants out of life, etc. It's fun. It's heartwarming. It's a good fantasy time. And I gave it a 3.5. Probably I put it a 4 on Goodreads because it is middle grade. So like I understand why I might not like be up there for me since I'm not the targeted audience, but I really enjoyed it. I read Bourbon Improof, which is the third romance in the Bourbon Boy series. Really liked the first one, gave it 5 stars. Liked the second one, gave it 4 stars. This one I ended up giving it 3. So that was sad. I was really hoping to like this one because this follows Cade and Hadley. It follows Cade and Hadley, and they've been in the other books. He's the oldest brother. She's the second brother, the middle brother's best friend. In these stories, they work at a bourbon farm. There's like a little bit of romantic suspense in there, but it's very much on the back burner. Because they work in the bourbon industry, they've always been on like the edge of the law some of the time, because in the past with prohibition and things, and the liquor industry has been on there for a long time. And then there's also like horse racing and stuff nearby. And Hadley's father is kind of like a crime boss in a way. And he is in jail at the moment, or on house arrest. I don't remember. But so there's like a mix of things there. But I think because Hadley and Cade's, they've had this relationship for so long, it's been slowly boiling for decades, practically. Oh, not literally decades. We didn't see that whole way. Like I almost loved their relationship more in the past 2 books when we saw them like negging on each other. I liked it, but I just didn't love it as much as the other ones, which is sad because I feel like they're my favorite couple. I thought they were going to be my favorite couple, but I still liked it. And Victoria Wilder, the author of these, is a local author to me. And I met her and she signed all my books. So What Stalks the Deep, I read through the library. This is the third in the Sworn Soldier series by T. Kingfisher. The first one was What Moves the Dead. And I thought this one was okay. It's like water cave horror. There's something in the caves killing off people. And I thought the direction it went in was kind of fun. And the character in this is just very heartwarming. And I don't know if I will continue with the series if they come out with another one, but I do like her, like them. They're non-binary character in the story. It was interesting because this was set in the US and this character is from like a different country that is a fantasy country. So it was interesting to see them come to the US and make some jokes about us. And I thought that was fun. I read The Chestnut Man as part of my TBR 10 vlog, and this was one of the books I had been on my TBR for a long time, and I didn't really want to pick up, even though I've heard good things about it. It's a serial killer thriller, and it follows these detectives and then some other characters in here as well, as they try to solve the mystery of these women who are being killed, and they are having body parts removed while they're alive, and then they are found with these little chestnut men. And they're trying to figure out who's doing this. And there's a connection between a politician and their daughter who went missing, but the body was never found. And her fingerprints are being found on these chestnut men. So we don't know what's up with that. We're trying to figure it all out. It was long. It was too long for me, but I did enjoy it. I gave it a 3.5. I had the audiobook as well, which I think was a good move. Because I think sitting here with this big book and reading it, it would have taken a really long time, but the chapters are super duper short. It is 516 pages and there are 130 chapters. So they are really, really short, which helps this. It keeps it moving really quickly. I gave it a 3.5. I read House of Idol, also in my Summerween vlogs. I liked this one. This is about a woman who's a musician and she really doesn't have any money. And she gets an offer from some mysterious guy in a limo or a Bentley or something to go to this compound, and she can live in a microhome, and she can wear white all day and just work on her craft. And too good to be true, right? Culty, it's weird. And I had a good time with it. And I ended up giving it a 3.75, not quite a 4, but I gave it a 3.75. I had fun with this one. There's weird unicorn gods and weird masks and people taking hallucinogens and new agey woo-woo-ness. I had a good time with it. I read The Resistance of Witches. That's by Morgan Ryan. That was for a book club that I forgot to go to. So sorry about that, ladies. And man, there's one man that goes to our fantasy book club. A Resistance of Witches. It's a World War II historical fiction fantasy where there's witches trying to be part of the resistance in World War II with the Nazis and Hitler. And there's this magical book that they want to keep out of the hands of the Nazis and out of Hitler's hands because it could destroy lots of things. Secrets are revealed. People that the main character thought she could trust turns out to be enemies, etc., etc. I thought it was a good book. I think it's a standalone, which is great. And I believe from what I've heard that the book club everyone in the book club seemed to like it. So it was a success. It's not one I would have picked up without the book club. It's always good to pick a book that you didn't think you'd like and end up liking it. My flat 4-star reads. This is an old copy and I read it on audio. So this is Fahrenheit 451, classic that I never got a chance to read in high school or college. This follows a man who's a fireman, but in this world, it's dystopian. You can't read. They're outlawed. Books are outlawed and he's a fireman. And if you have books, he will burn them and probably also your house. And he is slowly discovering that maybe he doesn't think this way and he wants to read and discover books and he wants to explore more about what's going on and be part of the resistance. And it's interesting. I really like this one. I give it 4 stars. It's very topical. Right now, I feel like it always is topical, the idea of censorship and not having access to information and books and trying to cover up things that have happened in history and how you only know things based on what you've been exposed to. And I had a good time with that. I'm glad that I finally read this classic. I have another one and I can't find it, but I read Elevation by Stephen King on audio, and actually I really liked that one. It's not horror, it is a novella. It's 146 pages. It also includes another short story, but it's mainly about this man and he is slowly losing weight, even though his outer appearance is not changing at all. He's middle-aged, older than that, maybe 50s, and he's slowly losing weight. He tells his friend who's a doctor, he's like, what's going on? We don't know. But he's like, don't tell anybody. I don't want to be experimented on. And so this is just his journey as he goes through this mysterious ailment. He makes some friends along the way. He has neighbors who are a lesbian couple and they own a restaurant and it's not doing so good because people are bigoted up there and they don't want to support their relationship. But he's not like that. But they do run and their dogs do poop on his lawn, so he tries to tell them like, hey, pick up after your dogs, please. And they take it to heart because they don't take it to heart and they say, well, that's not my dog. And then he catches them. And then one of them is very defensive, mostly because she hasn't been welcomed and she's pretty prickly, rough around the edges. And she's also a runner. She was almost in the Olympics. And there is this foot race in the town that she's going to be running in, and they used it to promote it, but she was hoping this would like help the town accept her and accept them and come to the restaurant. And it's just like very heartwarming and nice story and interesting thing to think about, interesting concept. And I ended up really enjoying it and I gave it 4 stars. And I do have a copy somewhere. It's very, very tiny and I cannot find it. Oh, we're more than halfway through. I gave The Need by Helen Phillips 4 stars. This one is about a woman who digs up fossils, but they're plant fossils. And I forget what they call that kind of person. However, she just had a baby, her second child, I think. Yes, she had her second child. So she is trying to balance her child and her other child and the baby and work and all of the things that new mothers kind of have to deal with. And she thinks she is home alone. Her husband had to go off for work. And so she's home by herself with the kids and she hears footsteps. She thinks she hears footsteps. In the very beginning of this, the first chapter of this, I was like, whoa, like I really, really liked it. It was really, really creepy. It creeped me out. And then it kind of goes in a direction that I wasn't expecting. And I thought that was fun. But yeah, this deals with fears as a new mother, fears that you're not good enough, just motherhood in general. I really, really liked this. If you don't like stories about motherhood, if you don't like children and talk of breastfeeding and work family balance, all of that kind of stuff, I wouldn't maybe read this. This is more sci-fi than sci-fi horror. I would say the first little bit is horror and then it kind of moves more into sci-fi. Interesting concepts here. And I really liked it. I gave it a 4. I read The Devil in Silver by Victor Lavelle, also for Summer Wayne. Victor Lavelle wrote about a Black Tom, which I really loved. So I want to go through some of the backlist that Victor Lavelle has written. I know a lot of people have read Changeling. I feel like I read a book called The Changeling years and years and years ago. I have no idea if it's the same book. I don't think it is. So I'm going to have to go back and try that one at some point. For this one, I read The Devil in Silver. It takes place at a mental institution, but it's like more current. He's in the 2000 somethings, because Obama's president. And it's about a Black man who commits some sort of minor crime. I think he beats up this dude who was abusing his wife. So he ends up arrested. And instead of wanting to do all the paperwork, they stick him in a 72-hour hold. But due to circumstances, he ends up sitting in there for a really long time. There is some sort of man with a buffalo head haunting the patients of this institution. And it has a lot of the same themes as like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but it's very different at the same time. But they do mention that quite a bit. I don't think the doctors and nurses in there are as nefarious as in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But it talks a lot about how, these institutions are underfunded. And, there are doctors that mean well and really, really want to make change and try. And then they get burnt out. And obviously themes of racism and the institutionalization of people in general and etc. I don't know. That's a lot of books. I'm getting a little bit burnt out. Okay. Dead but Dreaming of Electric Sheep. I actually got to meet Paul Tremblay and have him sign this, which was really cool. And he stamped it and he signed it. So that was really cool. This is a really interesting read. It's very weird. It's very confusing. I think in my review, I said it tickled my brain in a way I like. It also was frustrating at times. I ended up giving it a 4. But I also think that my original rating was like a 3.5, but then I went to meet Paul Tremblay and listened to him speak about it, and I upped it to a 4. The formatting is really interesting, and I love Paul Tremblay in general, so I ended up bumping it up. But I will say, I think most people... Oh, I found my book, my Ghosty. I couldn't find that. Most people will be frustrated by this, unfortunately. But I just love Paul Tremblay so much. Anyway, in this, we're following a man, and he has had a stroke. And he works for this company, this big tech company. And before he had a stroke, he donated his body to this company to have this experiment performed on him, where they're putting some sort of AI microbes in his brain and allowing him to be piloted across the country to where he's going to be euthanized as per his wishes, because he's supposed to be brain dead. But slowly we realize that he is experiencing something, and that's horrifying, because he is definitely experiencing something, even though the doctors say that he really can't be aware of what's going on around him. And then we kind of nicknamed him Bernie, like because of Weekend at Bernie's, that movie. And then there's also Julia, who we're following, who is a young woman who just hasn't really found her place yet. She was a semi-pro video gamer, and she has been contacted by her mother's company, which is this big tech company, to pilot this man across the country to make sure that he gets to where he's supposed to be, and use this new technology to move his body through this controller that she ends up having. It's a weird one. And there are things that I had problems with, but I just tried to go with it. One of my biggest things was like, okay, there's this big tech company, and they want him to make it there, but they just send her. And she does have like accompaniment for part of the journey, but like other legs of the flights and things she doesn't. And I'm like, why, if you have all this money, would you not make sure that she has other people around her to make sure that nothing goes wrong? But yes, I thought this was interesting. Made my brain think. It's not what I'm going to forget, so I ended up giving it a low 4. I read Unworld, which I haven't reviewed yet, but it is coming up in a blog, so I don't want to say too much about it. This is by Jason Green. This is about a woman. Well, it's about a couple people, but it's about a woman who's recently lost her son to supposed suicide. He jumped off a cliff or an edge or something high and passed away. And in this world, there's a lot of AI. There's a lot of technology. You don't drive your own cars. You have these things called uploads, which is essentially your consciousness that you can upload into the cloud or whatnot and help you to do things throughout your life, and you sync with it. So, as long as you sync with it every day, it's supposed to basically be you as an upload. That's going on in the background of this, but this is mostly about grief and her dealing with it and how she's dealing with it, how her upload's dealing with it, and then her upload wanting to be emancipated from her because she can't handle it anymore. We slowly find out that she has been letting her upload hang out with her son without her. So she'll go to the store and she'll be like, hey, can you hang out with so-and-so, my son, and keep him company? Because she's like, well, it's the next best thing to having me, right? But so he has memories with just the upload when they're not like actual beings or robots or anything. It's kind of like having an Alexa, certain electronics in the house, so he could just talk to them. So they have like a separate relationship than he has with his actual mother. So that gets weird. And is there something nefarious going on with that? And the upload wants to be emancipated so that she won't be tethered to her actual owner anymore. So then stuff happens with that, and meet a new character who ends up coming in contact with this upload. And then there's also a teen character that was best friends with this boy and believes that there's something else going on here. Overall, this is about grief, parental grief. It's sad. And I actually really liked it. I gave it a 4. I wouldn't go into it for the sci-fi-ness of it, though. It made it interesting concept-wise, but I think it's mostly about grief. There are some beautiful lines in here that almost made me cry. Yes, I thought this was worthwhile to pick up. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble a while ago, and I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. It's a debut. I want to give it a try. So I read it through the library, and I'm glad I did. Also for Summerween, I read Head Full of Ghosts, and this is a possession story about a family where their, I think, youngest child is being possessed. We don't really know. We never really get that answer. It's Paul Tremblay. It's very ambiguous. Older child actually is being possessed, and they invite in these exorcists and this reality show film crew to film what's going on in the house. And we are party to what they find. And we go back and forth for these bloggers and things in the future, looking back at this series and what really happened, and maybe interviewing the people that were involved. And yeah, I liked this one. I ended up giving it a 4. I did vlog it for Summerween. If you want to know more information about it, I read Soul Searching. I can't remember if I did this for Library Vlog or what, but I read this very recently by Lila Sage. I really liked her. Oh, this is signed. Interesting. I did not know that this was signed. That's cool. I really loved Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled. Those books, I thought they were fun. I really liked them. I gave them between 5 and 3 stars. I think the last one I might have given a 3.5, but I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to pick up this one. This is a new series. It has a little paranormal twist to it. It's about a woman who goes back to her hometown because her life's sort of in turmoil. She got fired. She's a photographer. She got fired. She had this gift for seeing and hearing ghosts, but she can't hear them anymore. She could still see them, but she can't hear them. So she's just feeling untethered and like she wants to get her mojo, but she needs to get her mojo back. And she moves back home. Her parents own an antique shop. So she wants to help out there and try to reconnect with this hometown and help out her sister. She has a twin sister. She ends up moving in with this guy, and it's like a duplex situation, but they have a connecting kitchen, sort of like a dorm room. And he owns an upholstery business, and she starts working for the upholstery business, doing admin type stuff. And yeah, they fall in love, and he helps her get her mojo back, and they go to all these different haunted places in this creepy town. And I quite liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I definitely enjoyed meeting the new characters in this new small town, her parents and her sister, and some of the other characters. This gruff old guy that lives up a hill and has lots of rules that say no trespassing. And he likes our main girl, and her family, mostly because her mother nagged him until he decided that, her family's okay. So yes, I really enjoyed that one, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one, which I think comes out in the fall. I read Homesick, and I gave that 4 stars. I quite liked that one. It's about another woman who's floundering and moves into this home in Scotland, and it's a cottage. It's run down, and apparently it's also like a duplex situation, but she didn't know that when she was moving in. She doesn't bring anything with her. She ends up laying on a mattress with no bedding and just like her hoodie and a towel to cover herself. And it's her getting to know the town and getting to know why people think this house is weird. And she tries to meet her neighbor, and that's a weird situation. And she hears weird sounds over there. It's just her trying to figure out what the heck is going on with this house in this town, and her trying to figure out her life. And I quite liked this one as well. I liked the direction it went in. I thought it had some truly creepy moments in it, and I had fun with it. I gave that 4 stars. I know some of these reviews are getting a little bit more sparing, but that's what happens when I have so many books. Okay, we're getting there. I read Our Sister's Keeper by Jasmine Holmes. This is a debut, and I thought this one was really, really good. I just read this in my TBR Attempt vlog. This is about a Black couple that are moving to this supposedly utopian-like town. They are not looked down upon, and it's all Black people that live there, and everything's so great. And it kind of goes into kind of like a Stepfordy situation where there are these group of women called the Carriers, and the men in this town visit these women and take all their pain and their sad experiences and just make them light as a feather. But it hurts these women, like physically, it hurts them mentally, and they are basically used until they're used up and they die. And it's awful. These are also Black women, by the way. So they're being experimented on and given these drugs to help them deal with it. So this couple we're following, the woman starts to see what they call groanings, and they're like apparitions or ghostly apparitions of women screaming basically in pain. The only people that can see them in this town are the women, but they just ignore them. And they just turn a blind eye, just ignore the darkness, and just want to appreciate the light. Things, the lightness that their husbands now have, and they don't want to carry their husband's trauma from slavery and just overall experience of being a Black man in this time. 1927, yes, the 20s in Mississippi. And then, of course, we slowly realize that this community and experiment is run by a white dude who owns the land, and he's experimenting on these Black women and Black men. He has possibly nefarious ulterior motives. Shocking. Yeah, I really like this one. I think this is a very good read. I think more people should be reading it, and it's a fantastic debut, and I'm excited to see what she comes up with next. And I gave that a 4.25, but I almost feel like I could up that to a 4.5, 5. Like, it was good. It's sticking with me since I read it a few days ago, since I finished it. Apparently, I forgot to add Mapping the Interior in here, so I actually ended up giving this one a 4. This is by Stephen Graham Jones. It's a novella. It's mostly grief horror about an Indigenous boy who moved out of the reservation and away from the reservation life after his father passed away, and now he's seeing the ghost of his father in like complete fancy dance regalia. And it delves into this boy's conflicted feelings about seeing him, about his ancestry, being haunted by the ghost of your father. Maybe he wasn't such a good guy, and just grappling with the dichotomy of wanting a dad and wanting to love your dad and your ancestry, but also dealing with the repercussions and consequences of all that. I thought this was quite good, and I gave it 4 stars. All right, so now we're only left with my close 5s and my 5s. All right, so my almost 5s, but not quite 5s, are The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery, a bookish book lover's book about a man who recently lost his wife, and he's mourning his wife, and he owns this bookstore, and it's not doing so well. And one day, he's very depressed, and one day a little girl, a toddler, is left in his bookstore with a note that basically says, I love books, take care of this child for me. And then the mother ended up committing suicide. And so it's this journey that Mr. Fickery goes on as a bookseller and a father. And it's just like a very heartwarming story about this man's life throughout his life, from the moment that we meet him until he passes away. There are some very sad moments in here, very uplifting moments, very heartwarming. It's in a secluded town, a secluded island town that can only be reached to fairy. So like you have that atmosphere for you. There's other side characters that I thought were all really fleshed out. Really, really enjoyed this one. She also wrote Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I enjoyed, but I think I like this one even more. It's just more up my alley than the techie stuff, video gaming stuff. So I really liked that one. I highly recommend if you haven't given it a try. Tummy is a growlin'. I read Out There by Kate Folk. This is another short story collection. This is another Weird Girl short story collection that I really, really loved. It is only beat out by Oddbody so far, which I also really loved. This is my number one Weird Girl short story collection that I've read so far, but I read it first, so maybe that's why. But there's a lot of weird stuff in here. There's a story in a world where there are these blots, which are fake men that will date and then scam you on the dating apps, and then they poof into the abyss, apparently. I thought that was interesting. And we actually circle back to that one at the end, which I thought was fun. There's one about a head slowly growing out from someone's floor. I liked so many of them. There is one about a world in which you have, instead of fetishes or weird proclivities, you have fetishes for people's organs, and you like give bits of yourself to people. There's one about a disease. It's called the bone ward, where people's bones at night people who have this disease, their bones at night start to liquefy. So they're all put in this ward to try and cure them and keep them from dying. I like that one a lot too. There's one about a house that needs to be moistened constantly. So yeah, there's one about dating a somnambulist, which is someone who moves around in their sleep, and they like are always finding things in their bed in the morning, like a jellyfish. There's one called the Turkey Rumble, which is about this family who injure each other on Thanksgiving. It's like, instead of Secret Santa, you have like a secret Turkey Rumble where you pull a name out of a hat, and then by the end of the day, you have to injure them in some way. So lots of really weird stories that I thought were fun and interesting. So close to a 5 for that one. Fan service, which I almost want to up to a 5 because of the amount of fun and chuckles and giddiness I had reading this book. This is a werewolf romance. There's a man named Devin, and he is a washed up TV actor who used to be in this supernatural werewolf detective story TV show. And he's hoping it gets revamped because he really hasn't reinvigorated his career at all. And the woman in this story was a big fangirl of this, but she used to run this like fan site with these other girls. All of a sudden, this guy starts experiencing things and he doesn't know what the heck's going on. He feels like he might be turning into a werewolf, and she sort of helps him along this transition. And I just thought this was super cute and charming. And I loved the banter they had together. I loved like his gruffness and her. I just really liked it. I thought it was fun. Yeah, I just love a paranormal romance. What can I say? 2 more left. We are almost done. These are my 5-5-star. Not my 5. I don't have 5 of them, but these are the ones that were actually, I was like, yeah, that's a 5-star. No qualms about it. So my 2 top books of the month are The Black Farm by Elias Winthrow and Honeysuckle. Theme of these, bleak, dark. Both are gross in different ways. And I loved them very much. The Black Farm is more of an extreme horror. I do think if you can get past the first little bit with the first time that our main character gets taken away and captured, lots of horrible torture and essay and disgusting stuff happens to him. But I think once we get past that, it is a little more palatable. But that was a hard bit to read. This is about a husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend. They decide to commit suicide together. They're done with this life and they're hoping for nothing afterward. And they just are depressed and they can't seem to uplift each other and get out of this rut. So they decide to die. And unfortunately for them, when they die, they are not sent into nothingness. They are now in a hell-like hellscape. The Black Farm, which isn't hell, it's where God puts people that commit suicide, because he's like, they don't deserve to be in hell, but they definitely can't go to heaven. But unfortunately, it's like one step above hell. That's what they say. One of the characters says in here, it's like, they say hell is worse, but not by much. And there are these pig creatures in here that hunt you down, the pig-born, that hunt you down and torture you and kill you, and then you're reborn over and over and over again. You can decide to feed the pig, and if you feed the pig, if he likes the way you taste, he'll send you back down to earth to try again. Or if he doesn't, you're going to go to hell. It's about him trying to find his way back to his partner and the crazy things that they encounter. There are, I forget what they call them, but they're like these monolith men, creatures, statues that are stories high that are in the ocean surrounding this black farm, which is an island with crosses for heads, and hanging off these crosses are people that they caught trying to swim out off the island, and they are just hang there for eternity, tortured, dying over and over again. So lots of grisly, dark themes in here, dark descriptions, very gross stuff, but at the same time, I just thought it was really well done. I really liked it. There is a sequel, so I think it's Return to the Black Farm or something like that, and I'm curious to read it. So I will be reading that at some point in the future. Gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Glad I read it. Glad I own it. And I think my number one, though, for this month is Honeysuckle. Love the cover. This is about a teenage girl who has a younger brother. She's quite a bit younger than her. Always bugging her, right? Always bugging her to play with him, keep him occupied. So she builds him a ludowed. I think that's how you say it. It's a flower girl out of flowers and things, and plants. And once she's built, she looks human. You can't distinguish her from a regular human. So they bring her to life, plays with him. But then one day she starts to fall apart because, as with the seasons, she starts to decompose. So they have to rebuild her. And as he gets older, they rebuild her to look a little bit older. And then it gets to the uncomfortableness of him falling in love with her. And, does she want to look more like a woman? And can she really give consent to anything because she was made for him? And it turns into like an icky consent, bodily autonomy situation. It gives a little bit of obsession vibes, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't say it's very horror. There are horrifying things in it. There are some horrifying scenes, especially as you're like pulling her apart to put her back together. But it's about, like I said, bodily autonomy, control, consent, all of those things. I just thought it was really, really well done. I tabbed a whole bunch. I just was obsessed with it. Am obsessed with it. And once again, this is a debut. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. It's crazy that this is a debut. I cannot wait to see what they do next. Oh, I just absolutely love this. If you have it on your shelves, pick it up, read it. It's dark, it's bleak, but the ending, I loved the ending. It was great. It was satisfying. Yeah, I just thought this was well done. So well done. Anyway, that being said, that's all I have for you today. After like an hour of filming. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know how your July went. Let me know your best book you read in July. Let me know what you want me to read. Give me some recommendations, all of the things, and I will see you next time.